Again, Policy Nuance with State Representative Martin Batinick from the 97th District. Now, you just went down for a couple of days down to Georgia. I love the state. I go down there about twice a year. It's beautiful. It is a lot different than it is here, politically, especially, is what you noticed.
Yeah, and some of it wasn't even so much. Obviously, people know the RD difference, but there was something really unique. It was a father-son trip. My son, God bless him, somehow became an Eagles fan, and he lives in Chicago, looking to move to the Southeast, but he's an Eagles fan. And we used to take short road trips to St. Louis, or if the Eagles were in Chicago or something like that, and see the Eagles play. So he bought me tickets to the Eagles Falcons game, and we flew in. And we took a really early flight because I'm cheap, and that's when the flights are cheap. And we landed, and he wanted to blow some time. He said, "Let's look at the Capitol." I got to be honest, I didn't remember that the Capitol was in Atlanta. I said, "Okay." So we went to the Capitol, and they usually have it a little bit more open, and the doors to both the Senate and House chambers were shut. And I went into the office of the Senate president. And I said, "Hey, I'm from Illinois. We're just visiting, yada, yada, yada." And the guy said, "Oh, they're doing a mock session, and they should be almost done, but, we can go talk, and maybe I can get you on the floor." And then he started asking me about Springfield. And I said, "Well, I'm actually an Illinois state rep." And we started talking about the Springfield Capitol and whatnot. But after chit-chatting for a while, he said, "Hey, I'll take you over to the Senate." So he brought me over to the Secretary of the Senate. So it's like the clerk of the House, the same version as him. And they were finishing their mock session. Great guy. And he was telling me about a couple of things that I think are just fantastic that Georgia does. That is really nonpartisan, but tells a little bit about the way they conduct business. The first one is shorter session, 40 days, starts in January. You meet, you have a 1 week off, and you have weekends off in there, but it's a pretty short session. But I've advocated for something like this for a while. You come in for a week, you kind of get your busy work done. Mm-hmm. You immediately do the budget before doing anything else. There's none of this 11th hour, drop the budget May 31st. It is, we are not going to pass any legislation until the budget's done. And it just seems like such a great way in terms of the process of doing business and transparency to cover it. So budget's number one. And if you think about it, everything should roll off of the budget. So much of what you can do is based on where spending is and your availability. So that I thought that was incredibly different and good. And I remember during the budget crisis, we were going on to Springfield. We were never talking about the budget. We were talking about all kinds of different bills, never talking about the budget. And the fact that they make it a priority, I think, is really important. Yeah,
they're putting the horse before the cart, not the cart before the horse.
There you go. And then the last one is really symbolic, but it was funny. I started to think about it. He said, so he brought me in because they were doing this mock session. They had a new computer system. He said, "Okay, we're about to do sine die." And I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's SINE and then capital DIE. It's Latin. It means the end. So what they do, their House and their Senate is across from the rotunda, similar to the way ours is. They open the doors so that they can see each other, and they try to bang the gavels at exactly the same time. Now, the importance of this is, going back to the budget, is that means that the House and Senate have to be working on everything together. Now, if you get the budget out of the way first, it makes it a lot easier. But there's been so many times where it happened with energy, and I think it happened with budget this year as well, but it happened with the energy bill this year and budget previously, where one chamber or the other just sends a bill to the Senate, or Senate sends a bill to us, and they say, we're going to let them take it up, and we're leaving, and we're out of town, and we're done. And Georgia's controlled, the House and Senate are controlled by Republicans. The House and Senate in Illinois are controlled by Democrats. So it's the same party. You would think, I would understand it would be harder if you had different parties, but you would think, having the House and Senate controlled by Democrats, that we could have the kind of camaraderie or working together coordination where we could end each session at the same moment, but we don't do that. So I thought those two things were pretty striking.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of striking, you got to see a couple of really cool stadiums, right?
I did.
Mercedes-Benz. For those who don't know, Atlanta built a new stadium. Probably has been open for about 3 years, I think. Maybe a year or two longer than that. It is everything that we don't have here in Chicago in terms of a stadium. Yeah,
boy, and this goes back to, I'm actually going to, in a way, tie this to the energy bill. After I've been to a few stadiums. I don't get to see a lot, but Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where the Falcons play, is gorgeous. And when I first ran for office, and even doing this show, people said don't do it. When I first ran for office, I put together a 39-page plan of all the things we need to do to fix the state. And one of the examples I used was Soldier Field. We spent over $700 million building Soldier Field. Lucas Oil Field was built for about $700 million, like a year or two later. Now, this is where the importance come in. I always talk about how it's not what you spend, it's the results of what you spend. Because a lot of people say, your budget is your priorities, your budget is your priorities. We all see people in life spend a lot of money on things and not have a lot to show for it. And that's kind of how I feel about Soldier Field. And here's the economic impact, and this is what's important. I'm going to use Lucas Oil Field, but it transitions
which is in Indianapolis.
Yep. So Lucas Oil Field has hosted a Super Bowl. I'm going from memory on this. I want to say their net economic impact was $350 million.
From the one game?
From the one game. Wow. And you can Google this. They've had 2 Final Fours. Net economic impact from those is $100 million. They get the Big Ten championship every year, which obviously has a huge net economic impact. So you look at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They're getting a Super Bowl. They get the SEC championship. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Deb on the computer over there can see if Mercedes-Benz Stadium is scheduled for a final for a Final Four for the NCAA basketball tournament. But I'm sure that there's a good chance the SEC basketball tournament is there occasionally. But the point is, we don't get those in Chicago. So we spent a lot of money to renovate a stadium that doesn't get the kind of return, and we did because the way we negotiated it, right? We negotiated something that wasn't in the best interest of maybe the citizens of the state. It might have been in the best interest of the parties that were involved directly in it, whether it be the workers, the hotels, or
the park district or whatever,
the park district, the Bears, whatever. But it certainly wasn't in the best interest of the state, and those are the kind of things that are the most frustrating. The fact that you have a retractable dome stadium in Milwaukee, and you have Indianapolis, that Super Bowl, Final Fours, Big Ten championship. The Big Ten championship needs to be in Chicago
every year.
Every year it should be. This should be the center. I mean, if just think about it. I mean, I believe this is where the Big Ten headquarters is, right?
It is up in Rosemont.
So and we get stuff. I think we've had the draft here recently. When the weather's nice. I mean, we get stuff like that. But if you're going to get those big events, you need to have a world class stadium. We paid for a world class stadium. Yeah. We didn't get a world class stadium
at the time. That was the most expensive stadium ever built. And then a few years later, Jerry Jones built his AT&T Stadium in Dallas, which was, I think, $1.2 billion. Now, SoFi Stadium just opened up, and I think it was like $2 or $3 billion out in LA. All right, so let me ask you a question. I got one here for you right here. I didn't send this to illinoisquestions@gmail.gov, but would you be in favor of helping out the Bears if they wanted to move to Arlington, if you saw a return on the investment?
Yeah, I'm a numbers guy. In fact, one of my new phrases that we're going to roll into with COVID is math over emotion.
Yep.
The trouble I have with Arlington Heights is it's Arlington Heights.
Right.
You look at the stadium. Lucas Oil Field is downtown Indianapolis. You look at Atlanta. It's downtown Atlanta for Mercedes-Benz Stadium, built in something in Arlington Heights. I'm not sure that's going to draw a Super Bowl. It's going to draw. It's going to draw the NIT. Kind of one of the if you look at the way we've. If anything, Soldier Field probably should have been where the Sox play. You get 81 games a year. People go out. They go to a bar afterwards. They drink. There's more dates and there's more spending that's ancillary to the game itself. So the site would have to be important. I would support doing something to have a world class stadium in Chicago, but my gut tells me Arlington Heights isn't it. So.
Good point. Schaumburg just doesn't have that same feel as the Loop, does it?
Right. It does not.
You got it.